Right after I was born, my grandmother buried me alive. That night, she dug me back out from the grave. When my parents saw what she was doing, they didn't try to stop her. Instead, they helped her bury me together. Because my grandmother was the most famous spirit medium in the area, people respectfully called her second auntie. She did this, mainly to deceive the great one down below, because grandma said I was a heaven-sent golden child from the South Sea, destined not to live past 6 years old. I might even die right after birth, and the golden child fate grandma spoke of refers to those young boys and girls who serve deities. Therefore, the moment I was born, the king of hell took notice. He wanted to take me back. That's why they put on this show. Of course, the reason I survived just fine in the coffin was because grandma invited a healing immortal to possess me. That's what kept me safe. Sadly, as soon as grandma brought me home, I kicked the bucket. It really proved that old saying true. If the king of hell wants you dead at midnight, he won't let you live till dawn. Just as the whole family was plunged into grief, only grandma remained exceptionally calm. She decided to take the great immortals, our family and shrines, down to the underworld to demand my return. Before going, she got a brazier. Without hesitation, she burned the offering petition. Then she knelt before the brazier. My journey will take 3 days. If I'm not back in 3 days, find a place to bury me and my grandson together. At least I can keep him company in the underworld. With that, her breath ceased. Kneeling there, the family knew grandma had willingly descended, and grandma knelt like that for 3 days. As time slowly passed, the family's hearts began to sink lower and lower, until the morning of the 3rd day, a loud rooster's crow echoed through the entire village. I, who had been lying lifeless in bed, suddenly let out a loud wail. At that moment, grandma exhaled a breath, and slowly rose from the ground. Seeing both grandma and I wake up, the family was overjoyed. If it weren't for the old immortals at home, she and I definitely wouldn't have made it back. To thank the old immortals, grandma had someone rewrite an offering petition. It was placed in the Immortal Hall. Then she reverently made grand offerings for 49 days straight. Chicken, duck, fish, meat, everything was there. However, I still couldn't change my golden child fate. Disasters were inevitable in the future. So, grandma wrote my name on the offering petition as well, meaning I should get closer to the immortals. Once I encounter danger, the immortals won't just stand by. Grandma's approach was truly one of a kind. Even the great immortals at the hall were startled by grandma's actions, but these immortals didn't object, and precisely because of grandma's method, I formed an inseparable bond with the immortals. This led to me being possessed by an immortal every year after that. Their purpose wasn't to take my life. They just wanted to establish a shrine through me, to take me as their disciple. Of course, grandma knew this too, so she reopened the offering tablet for me. Each time a great immortal came, she would write their name on it. By the time I was 3 years old, my offering tablet had exactly 72 immortals' names. Right. As grandma finished writing the name of the 72nd immortal, I suddenly seemed like a different person. From the mouth of a 3-year-old child came an extremely authoritative voice. The 72 guiding immortals have all taken their places. Hurry up and light incense for this young disciple to establish his shrine. That one short sentence left grandma standing there frozen. 72 guiding immortals. What does that even mean? When others perform a spirit medium ritual, they can only invite one immortal. But on me, 72 great immortals had settled at once. This was simply unheard of. This time, grandma was a bit scared. After all, I was still so young. So, she tentatively asked the great immortal behind me, "Our Xiao Fan is still very young. Aren't you afraid he can't handle you all coming like this? This young child has a heavy destiny with immortals. One could say he is destined to lead all immortals and cultivate alongside them. This time, I've only brought some guiding immortals. The true shrine-protecting immortals have not yet arrived. Your grandson will be assisted by 100 immortals in the future. He is absolutely extraordinary. You, old woman, better not hold him back. Since we have come, there's no going back." Grandma had no choice. She could only comply. Although this time, so many guiding immortals had come. Fortunately, I was no different from an ordinary child. Until the year I turned 6, the appearance of one person caused my life to change once again. It was an old man in his 60s. He came to the village with only one goal. That was my grandma. Because my grandma was the most powerful spirit medium in the area. So he wanted to challenge grandma to see whose immortals were more powerful. To put it bluntly, he wanted to step on grandma to make a name for himself. But grandma refused, because grandma believed that disciples of immortals should not seek fights. They must keep to their true hearts and do things worthy of the old immortals in their own conscience. Unfortunately, the other party didn't see it that way. That night, the old man directly summoned an immortal to attack our home. This time, grandma couldn't take it anymore. This is just too much. To actually come to our door and provoke us. This is an insult to our family's old immortals. So grandma immediately opened her shrine and summoned an immortal. Then she went out to fight that old man. Instantly, strong winds began to sweep across the ground outside. Thunder and lightning raged in the sky. I knew this was grandma's old immortal from her shrine manifesting, now fighting against the great immortal, summoned by the old man outside. The battle lasted only about over 10 minutes. Then grandma was defeated. He looked out the window and said gloomily, "No wonder he acts so arrogantly. Turns out he worships a wolf spirit. Wolf spirits aren't among the 5 great families. They, along with other animals who've cultivated into spirits, are collectively called outsider spirits. My parents were both startled by this scene. They rushed over to help Grandma up. That's when we noticed one of Grandma's legs was bleeding. The wound was deep enough to see the bone. Seeing Grandma so badly injured, my dad couldn't hold back his anger either. He cursed out loud, turned around, grabbed a kitchen knife, and charged out to fight. Right at that moment, from outside the courtyard, the old man's voice rang out. Second Aunt, he is nothing special after all. Consider this a lesson for you today. I'll be back to your village tomorrow. You must admit in front of the whole village that your family's spirit is inferior to mine. Tell them, if they want a consultation in the future, they must come to me. Otherwise, I'll tear down your spirit shrine. After saying this, the other party left. Amidst a burst of cold laughter, seeing him so arrogant, I was furious. Rage welled up inside me. I wished I could take him out right then. Then Grandma sighed and said, it's a pity that back then, the great spirits who accompanied me to the underworld to rescue Xiao Fan were severely injured. They're still in seclusion recovering. Otherwise, things wouldn't have come to this. Hearing this, my mom asked Grandma, what should we do now? What else can we do? At worst, we just do as that man says tomorrow. We can't really let him tear down our family shrine, can we? Hearing this left a bitter taste in my mouth. I decided that tomorrow, I'd give that old man an unforgettable memory. When the next morning arrived, the old man stood at the village entrance. He called Grandma by name, demanding. She kowtowed 3 times and bowed 9 times to invite him in. This immediately caught the whole village's attention. Grandma also arrived at the entrance. Second Aunt, are you really saying you'd destroy your entire spirit shrine just for a bit of pride? Hearing this, she sighed, as if she'd made up her mind. She actually started to kneel before the old man. My parents were stunned by this scene, and I completely snapped. I immediately rushed in front of Grandma. I shouted at the old man, Grandma, don't be afraid. I'm here. Let's see who dares bully you. So it's a spirit duel? I'll duel you, you villain. Hearing this, the old man burst out laughing. A little brat wants to duel spirits with him? That's hilarious. I ignored his mockery. Instead, I raised my head and shouted, Third uncle, someone's bullying me. Come quick. As soon as I said this, everyone present froze. Everyone knew. My dad was an only child. In his generation, where would I get a third uncle? But the moment I finished speaking, a powerful, resonant voice rang out. Who has a death wish, daring to bully our Xiao Fan? A burly man appeared, right beside me. However, this man was invisible to the other villagers. Unless you're a spirit medium. The old man's face was a picture of utter shock. He could already tell. This was a great immortal. He just couldn't believe it. Why would a 6-year-old child like me be able to summon such a deity? Even Grandma had never seen this burly man before her. She couldn't help but ask, may I ask which immortal you are? I am the little guide, the Willow Immortal, leader of the 72 Pathfinder Immortals. Hearing that name, Grandma snapped out of her daze. She finally remembered who he was. It was the old man beside her, who stared at the Willow Immortal, his expression shifting darkly. He spoke coldly to the Willow Immortal. You think a single, insignificant Willow Immortal like you can stand up for them? The Willow Immortal merely glanced at him, then declared loudly, everyone, show yourselves. As soon as he spoke, a host of immortals emerged from all around the village. They instantly surrounded the old man. The old man was completely dumbfounded. He never expected I could summon 72 immortals at once. He was terrified on the spot. Then, a beautiful woman with fox ears approached me. I recognized her. She was from the Fox Immortal clan, named Hulinger. She spoke to the wolf immortal behind the old man. I thought you were someone important. Turns out you're just a little wolf pup. Here's your choice. Leave this old man right now, and we won't trouble you. But this old man will be taught a lesson today. It's up to you. Hearing this, the old man said furiously. Hearing that, the old man snapped angrily. Are you trying to cut off my connection to the immortals? Cutting off your connection is the least of your worries. If our little disciple here is willing, killing you isn't out of the question. Hearing Hulinger's words, the old man finally showed a look of terror. However, that wolf immortal showed no intention of leaving. It remained standing by the old man's side. Seeing this, Hulinger asked me how to deal with him. Beat him up first. Make sure he can't show his face for at least 10 years. Lu Xian acknowledged the order. Then, with a few other immortals, grabbed the other side's wolf immortal and left. As for that old man, everyone, break his legs. It's to get revenge for Grandma. Hearing my words, the old man's eyes widened in horror, but before he could say anything, 2 immortals had already stepped forward. Each kicked one of his knees. His legs were broken on the spot. His screams echoed through the entire village. Then the 2 immortals lifted the old man and simply tossed him out of the village. However, what I had done seemed utterly bizarre to those around us, because all they saw was me exchanging a few words with the old man. Then the old man's legs broke on their own, so they stared at me, shocked, their eyes filled with fear. Although I had avenged Grandma, she wasn't happy. When we returned home, Grandma didn't say a word. She just poured a bowl of water from the immortal altar. Then she said to me, Xiao Fan, drink this first. Without thinking much, I took the bowl and drank it down. Soon after, I fell into a deep sleep, but my sleep was restless. I kept feeling like someone was whispering in my ear. I keep feeling like someone's whispering in my ear. Faintly, I heard my grandmother's voice. Honored immortals, my grandson is still young. His mind isn't settled yet. He has no idea whether what he does is good or bad. You all saw what happened today. I'm afraid he'll grow arrogant from your favor. Not only would he bring great misfortune upon himself, but he'd also implicate all of you, draining your virtue. If you don't mind, I'd like to temporarily seal his connection to the Immortals. When he's grown and understands things better, and truly needs your help, I'll lift the seal. How does that sound? As soon as Grandma finished speaking, the great Immortals in the room began to discuss. Not long after, they all agreed to Grandma's plan. So, they decided to return to their mountains to cultivate, and return to their posts in 15 years. As for Grandma, upon learning this result, she felt a wave of relief, and from that moment on, I never saw the 72 great Immortals again. So my life became just like a normal person's. As time slowly passed, my memory of them gradually began to fade, until one day in college, while I was tutoring, I was going about my usual routine, helping my student, Meng Liang, with his homework. Suddenly, from deep inside the house, came a series of loud bangs, like something was trying to break down the door. I couldn't just sit there, so I got up to investigate. When I reached the source of the noise, I was completely stunned. The door before me was plastered with Taoist talismans. Because my grandma was a horse-riding shaman, I knew these talismans were used to ward off evil and disasters. But strangely, the moment I reached the door, the sound stopped. The sound stopped just as I reached the gate, staring at this bizarre door. I wanted to leave, but my hand reached for the doorknob as if possessed. And just like that, the door swung open. In that instant, I actually saw a huge red eyeball behind the door, staring right at me. Seeing that giant eye, I let out a terrified scream. Before I could react, a chilling gust surged from the door, slamming me backward. It knocked me out cold. When I woke up, I found myself in a hospital, and the person by my side was my good friend Lao Fei. Seeing I was awake, Lao Fei explained, Meng Liang's parents brought you here. They said it was a gas leak. Luckily, you weren't seriously hurt. Hearing that, I was shocked. This was no gas leak. Clearly, Meng Liang's parents were hiding something. And, it seemed something foul had possessed me, because my head was constantly foggy and heavy. At the same time, I could hear faint, cold laughter in my ears. So, I had Lao Fei drive me back to my grandma's. As soon as we arrived, I rushed inside. But the moment I stepped in, my mind cleared up significantly. As for my grandma, the moment she saw me, she knew something was wrong. She immediately pulled me to the household shrine, and lit incense for me. Right then, my body seemed to be taken over. A cold laugh erupted from my mouth. Old woman, do you think your few household deities can suppress me? What are you? Why are you haunting my grandson? Every trade has its rules. Do you think you can overpower my full shrine of deities? You think you can suppress all my immortals here? I am suppressing them. What are you gonna do about it? If you're so capable, make them come down. Let's see who can touch me. Right after I said that, a sudden shattering sound was heard. The incense burner placed on the altar somehow exploded. Then I saw several figures float down from the altar. Their hands reached into my body. In an instant, they yanked out a woman in red from within me. Then they took her into the altar and vanished, and I returned to normal right then. Grandma rushed over and asked if I was okay. I immediately told her everything I had just seen. After hearing me, Grandma let out a sigh of relief, but she couldn't be happy. It seemed she felt this wasn't over. So that night, Grandma didn't let me go home. I stayed over. I thought that was the end of it, but something went wrong that very night. I woke up needing to pee, so I went outside to relieve myself. To my surprise, I saw Grandma come out of the house too. I went to greet her, but I found her eyes had turned blood red. This made me think of the evil thing I saw before at Meng Liang's house. Could it be that thing has possessed Grandma? What's even scarier is our family's guardian spirits couldn't even control it. As I stood there terrified, Grandma actually smiled at me. Then she said, "Kid, tonight, only one of you two will survive. Who are you? Have you forgotten? You're the one who set me free. You're the one who set me free. And now you're asking who I am? Originally, I was planning to take you with me tonight, but your grandmother begged me desperately, pleading for me to spare you. She offered to sacrifice her own life in your place, so I'm here to take her instead." After saying this, Grandma turned and walked towards the door. Seeing this, I immediately rushed forward and grabbed her wrist. At the same time, I shouted towards the inside of the house. Soon, the rest of the family rushed out. Seeing this, while holding Grandma's hand, I explained the situation to them. Only then did my dad snap out of it. He quickly rushed over to help me restrain Grandma. At that moment, I quickly broke free and went to the shrine inside the house. I lit 3 sticks of incense and bowed respectfully 3 times, hoping the spirits would come out and help. However, to my surprise, the incense in my hand simply would not go into the incense burner. It was even extinguished. Clearly, the spirits in our home didn't dare to get involved. What should I do? Just as I was burning with anxiety, Grandpa suddenly came to my side. He told me I could go see Chen Baichao in the village, because he's the only barefoot doctor in our village. It said, Chen Baichao traveled far and wide in his youth, and learned many skills. He specializes in all sorts of strange and difficult ailments. Hearing this, my eyes lit up. I hurried out to find Chen Baichao, but I hadn't run far when I started to feel something was off. I felt like someone was following me, and there was an icy chill. I even thought I heard someone calling my name from behind. but I didn't dare to look back, because my grandma once told me, every person has 3 yang fires on them. Each time you look back, 1 fire goes out. Once the yang fire is extinguished, you become very susceptible to evil spirits. So when walking at night, if you hear someone calling from behind, remember, never turn around. So I kept walking forward, ignoring that voice. When we arrived outside Chinbaitsao's door, we heard an angry shout from inside. What thing dares to cause trouble on my doorstep? Get lost. Now, with that roar, the chilling presence behind us, and the footsteps all vanished. Then, a middle-aged man came out from inside. This person was Chinbaichao. Seeing this, I immediately stepped forward and told him about my grandma's situation. Hearing this, Chinbaitsao's face changed drastically. He truly couldn't believe that the famous Yergu could be haunted by an evil spirit. It seems this thing is no ordinary matter. Thinking this, Chinbaichao immediately went inside, grabbed a small leather bag, and came out. Then he went back to my grandma's house with me. But as we passed the open area at the village center, a fierce gust of wind suddenly blew. All the branches of a big tree beside us began to shake violently. At the same time, a series of clapping sounds rang out, as if someone invisible to the naked eye was applauding. Seeing this, Chinbaichao picked up a rock and threw it at the tree. But that throw instantly terrified us. The moment the rock hit the trunk, a large piece of bark was knocked off. At the same time, a dark red liquid flowed out from inside, almost like human blood. I immediately asked Chinbaichao, what's going on? What was going on here? But I saw Chinbaichao wave his hand dismissively, saying he didn't know. What has your family gotten mixed up with? All of this is his warning to me. We should just ignore it and leave. After saying that, we turned around and headed towards Grandma's house. At that moment, the big tree behind us shook even more violently. It seemed to be furious about Chinbaisao's decision. When we returned to the courtyard, we saw that Grandma was already tied to a large tree. Right then, Grandma suddenly let out a cold laugh. She said to Chinbaichao, "You reckless fool. I was trying to scare you off, but you just had to come here and get yourself killed. Once I've finished strangling this old woman, I'm coming for you." Hearing Grandma's words, Chinbaichao showed no reaction. Instead, he said to our family, "Hold Granny down. I need to give her a few acupuncture treatments." Hearing this, we didn't hesitate. We immediately held Grandma down. Seeing that Grandma couldn't move, Chinbaichao didn't say anything more. He immediately took out 6 long silver needles from his small leather bag. His hands moved like lightning. He inserted 1 needle right into the top of Grandma's head. With just that one move, Grandma froze completely in place. Then he inserted all 6 needles in quick succession. With each needle, Grandma's body would convulse violently. Strangely, after that silver needle went into Grandma's head, not a single drop of blood came out. Instead, it was Grandma's blood-red eyes that were now oozing black blood. Once the black blood had mostly drained, Grandma's eyes returned to their normal color. Her mind cleared up too. However, the first thing Grandma said to us was, "Prepare my funeral arrangements," because Grandma could feel she was fading fast. Hearing Grandma's words, the whole family was plunged into grief. At that moment, my dad reached out to untie the ropes binding Grandma, but Chinbaichao stopped him. "Don't untie her yet. The thing inside her has only been suppressed for now. It hasn't left." Hearing this, my dad immediately pleaded with Chinbaichao, "Mr. Chin, please, you have to save my mother." But Chinbaichao just sighed, because the thing possessing Grandma was far too dangerous. He wasn't even sure he could defeat it. Now our whole family panicked. We didn't know what to do. Just as everyone was at a loss, Grandma suddenly said to me, "Xiao Fan, do you remember your Sanchu?" Grandma's words immediately perked everyone up. They all turned to look at me, and at that moment, I opened a memory long sealed in my heart. It's been 15 years without contact. I'm not sure if I can reach them again. As I hesitated, the silver needle in Grandma's head was sent flying by some force, and Grandma lost control once again. I saw Grandma at that moment, letting out a mocking laugh at me. At the same time, she spoke with an utterly arrogant attitude. "It's useless no matter who you call out. I'm taking this old lady today, no matter what. Let's see who has the skill to take her from my hands." I looked at Grandma. Her face was full of ferocity. Seeing my always kind grandmother suddenly become like this made me feel deeply uncomfortable and furious. I refused to believe. I can't deal with the arrogant thing inside Grandma. After taking a deep breath, I walked into the bedroom alone. I used scissors to cut some hair from my forehead, the crown of my head, and the back of my head. Then I placed it in a small bowl. The reason for cutting hair from these 3 places is because these are the places where the 3 souls reside. This is also where a person's spiritual energy lies. Now, I'm going to use my own spiritual energy to actively contact the Willow Immortal and the others. Afterwards, from beneath Grandma's family altar, I found a memorial paper. Written on the memorial were all the names of my 72 guiding immortals. I lit the memorial paper. Quickly, the entire paper burned to ashes. I placed all the paper ash into the small bowl. Then, I poured half a bowl of white liquor into it. After that, I knelt on the ground, picked up the bowl, and took a sip. Then I took a deep breath and shouted, "Taoist ancestors, guide me with this palace memorial. Today, I summon the Immortals. All paths are clear. Evil spirits, do not block the way. All deities, make way. I summon my immortal family. Who dares oppose this? Immediately after, I roared, all Immortals, return. I shouted, Immortals, return. As soon as the words left my mouth, all around the house, a sinister wind suddenly began to blow. And then, everything fell silent, as if nothing had happened. Seeing this, I fell to my knees. A sense of helplessness welled up inside me. Could it be that I recited the incantation wrong? Even my grandmother, who was possessed, seeing that my attempt fizzled out, burst into laughter. She thought I was hilarious, but the next second, she shut her mouth. She even looked a bit shocked, and in my ear, a woman's voice suddenly spoke. Hey, kid, how long are you going to kneel there? What? Do you really need to bow so low for me? I looked up. I saw a beautiful woman standing before me, but the awkward thing was, I forgot which immortal she was. The beauty in front of me rolled her eyes. What's the matter, little disciple? Have you forgotten I am Ulinger? Hearing that, I finally remembered. She was indeed one of the 72 guiding immortals. Naturally, I was overjoyed. This meant I had succeeded. I immediately told her about my grandmother's situation. To my surprise, after hearing me out, Ulinger said nonchalantly, what's so difficult about this? Saying that, she approached my grandmother. Hulinger looked at her and giggled. I thought it was something impressive. Turns out it's just a little Huisien. So, will you leave on your own, or shall I make you? Hearing Hulinger's words, my grandmother clearly felt extremely uneasy, but she still said coldly, He Ergu, we are both immortals. We don't interfere with each other. What right do you have to meddle in my affairs? What gives you the right to interfere? You're wrong. Doing good and accumulating virtue is the duty of an immortal. What you're doing is harming people. That's why there's no place for you in the immortal's abode. For some reason, when Grandma heard the word harm, she suddenly turned ferocious. How did they treat me back then? Nowadays, they don't worship gods or respect immortals. What's the point in protecting them? A debt of blood must be paid in blood. It's only right. No one can stop me today. Seeing that the other party wouldn't listen, Hulinger's expression gradually turned ice cold. Clearly, she was angry. Hulinger nodded. Fine, in that case, let our little apprentice get some practice. With that, Hulinger returned to my side and whispered a few instructions to me. I quickly agreed. I took out 3 incense sticks from inside the house, lit them, circled around Grandma, 3 times to the left, 3 times to the right. When I stood before Grandma again, I directly placed those 3 incense sticks upright on top of her head. Strangely enough, the 3 incense sticks seemed to have grown right out of her head. They stood straight up, showing no sign of falling. At this moment, Grandma seemed to be stimulated by something. She opened her mouth and let out a heart-wrenching scream. Segment 10. With that scream, from her eyes, ears, mouth, and nose, black smoke began to pour out incessantly. This was the method Hulinger had just taught me, called dispelling Yin energy. Once all the Yin energy within the body is expelled, that thing on Grandma can no longer remain inside her. As the black smoke continued to flow out, Grandma's screams also gradually grew weaker. Finally, she used almost all her strength to shout. You saved this old woman, but you can't save that family. But I couldn't save that family, because I won't let them get away. As soon as the words were spoken, Grandma's eyes rolled back and she passed out. Seeing this situation, I rushed over to check on Grandma. Then, Hulinger beside me told me, that gray immortal has already fled, so she's naturally fine now. Hearing this, my dad quickly untied the hemp rope from Grandma and laid her flat on the ground. But no matter what we tried, Grandma just wouldn't wake up. Then, Hulinger said, the old lady is advanced in years. Her body can't take much more. It won't be easy for her to wake up, but someone can save her. After saying that, she vanished on the spot. A moment later, she reappeared. Only this time, a beautiful older sister was with her. Little one, this is one of the 72 Pathfinder Immortals, the White Clan Immortal, Bai Shi. With Sister Bai here, the old lady will be fine. Once Hulinger finished the introduction, Sister Bai reached into the air and grabbed. A small pill appeared in her hand. She told me to give this medicine to Grandma, and she'd be fine. Only then did I realize, this was the White Immortal bestowing medicine, and the medicine given by this White Immortal was undoubtedly a life-saving elixir. Sure enough, not long after giving it to Grandma, she woke up, but the first thing Grandma did upon waking was to turn towards Hulinger and Baiji behind me and thank them profusely. Afterwards, Hulinger and Baiji, seeing there was nothing more to do here, prepared to leave. I hesitated for a moment, then couldn't help but ask them, next time I need your help, how do I get in touch with you? Do I need to set up an altar for you? No need, because you yourself are a living altar. Since the seal has been broken, you just need to call our names, and we'll appear. No need to burn incense before an altar like other disciples. Hearing this, I was stunned. I never expected it to be like this, and I don't know if now, with the seal broken, this is a blessing or a curse for me. Is this a blessing or a curse for me? But at least Grandma's health is finally back to normal. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. However, what happened tonight spread through the village, so now all the villagers know that I'm a powerful horse-mounted disciple. This means I can no longer live an ordinary life. As early as the next morning, someone from the neighboring Dwang village came to find me, said they wanted my help with a special funeral arrangement. The reason it's special is because the person originally in charge ran off halfway through. Now no one dares to take over the job. and it's for Wang Yotsai's father's funeral. But as the son, Wang Yukai isn't sad at all. On the contrary, he actually looks happy. Grandma also thought the situation was a bit strange, but the other party was so persistent, insisting we go. With no other choice, Grandma and I had to go with them. When we arrived at Wang Yotsai's house, Grandma immediately went to look at old man Wang's body, and right away, she spotted a problem. She exclaimed that old man Wang's corpse was strange. Hearing this, I was slightly startled. How could a corpse be strange? Then Grandma pointed at old man Wang's body and said to me, "Old man Wang's complexion is a bit dark. It's as if something dirty has seeped out from his pores. A person who dies naturally should have a pale gray complexion, not black. If the skin turns black, this corpse is not ordinary, or rather, it's an unnatural death." After saying this, Grandma immediately reached out to try and pry open the deceased's mouth, but she found old man Wang's mouth was clamped tightly shut, clenched shut tight. That's when I knew something was wrong. Who clenches their jaws so tightly after death? Even Grandma, a veteran of countless cases, found it unbelievable, so she used her thumb to press hard between the corpse's eyebrows, and the corpse's eyes suddenly flew open. They seemed to glare at Grandma. Grandma stared into the corpse's eyes. Then she said to me, "Xiao Fan, look into the corpse's eyes. Whose reflection do you see?" Hearing that, I was puzzled. Wouldn't the reflection in the corpse's eyes just be Grandma? So curious, I leaned in to look. What I saw stunned me, because the reflection in the corpse's eyes wasn't Grandma at all, and they weren't the same person. In the left pupil was a strange old man. In the right pupil was Wang Yotsai's shadow. What was going on? Then, Grandma, standing beside me, signaled for me to keep quiet. She told me that for someone like old Wang, who dies with a person's image left in their gaze, it's often someone they hated, or the person who directly caused their death. So this old man's death must be connected to Wang Yukai. Hearing Grandma's analysis, a chill ran down my spine. It was unbelievable. Right at that moment, Wang Yotsai's wife returned from outside. She spotted Grandma immediately, messing with the corpse. She couldn't help but scream, "What are you doing? He's already dead. Why are you touching him?" Before she could finish, her gaze fell on the old man's face, and at that moment, the old man's face turned toward her. His eyes glared at her viciously. The sight instantly made Wang Yotsai's wife shriek. She staggered, and collapsed to the ground, passed out cold, collapsed on the ground, unconscious. This sudden turn of events threw the entire Wang family into a panic. They rushed over to see what happened. In the crowd, Wang Yukai accidentally glanced at his father's corpse. He discovered the corpse's eyes were wide open, and it gave him a fright. He immediately begged my grandmother to save his wife, but Grandma didn't move. Instead, she asked Wang Yukai, "Let me ask you, how exactly did your father die?" Wang Yukai didn't expect Grandma to suddenly ask that question. He seemed flustered, but he gritted his teeth and answered, "My father, he passed away peacefully in his sleep." The moment he finished speaking, the glass on his father's portrait suddenly cracked with a loud pop. Seeing this, Grandma spoke again. "If you don't tell me the truth, this body won't be going anywhere today. When night falls, your father will come back for you all, and then, no one in your family will survive." Hearing this, Wang Yukai still insisted that his father died of natural causes. He didn't die unnaturally. Grandma sighed. She didn't say anything more. She just didn't understand why Wang Yukai was so stubborn. As Grandma was thinking, a sudden sound echoed through the house. A grating, teeth-grinding sound. It sent shivers down everyone's spine. Everyone in the room looked around, and finally, their eyes fell on the coffin. The moment he saw the coffin, Wang Yotsai's face turned deathly pale. He immediately knelt before it, kowtowing. He pleaded, "Dad, you're already gone. Please, just rest in peace. Don't make this harder for us, okay?" He shouldn't have said that. The moment the words left his mouth, the glass on the portrait shattered instantly. A shard of glass shot straight towards Wang Yotsai's eye. The glass on the memorial photo shattered instantly. A shard of glass flew straight towards Wang Yotsai's eye. If Grandma hadn't reacted quickly and kicked him aside, he'd be blind by now. This made Grandma a bit angry too. She turned towards the coffin and said coldly, "No matter what he's done, he's still your own son. How could you be so ruthless?" As soon as she finished speaking, the Wang family's daughter-in-law, who had been unconscious, suddenly sat bolt upright. It was as if her whole body was being controlled. She looked at Grandma and said coldly, "I could have lived a long life, but this unfilial son, for money, forced someone to trade my life for his fortune. He caused my wrongful death. A son like this is better off gone." The woman spoke and then suddenly leaped up. She lunged towards Wang Yukai. Luckily, I was quick and managed to grab hold of her and pinned her to the ground. Then, Grandma walked over and, without a word, slapped the back of the woman's head. Instantly, the Wang family's daughter-in-law lost all strength. She couldn't move. Seeing this, I immediately let go. Grandma then went to old Wang's coffin. She pointed to a spot on the corpse's chest. She said this was the life gate, where Yin energy gathers. If you attack here, the Yin energy in the chest will disperse. Hearing this, I didn't hesitate. I punched down on the corpse's chest. As a result, the Wang family's daughter-in-law on the ground immediately vomited a large amount of black fluid. Then she fell unconscious again, and at that very moment, the old man's corpse before my eyes began to shake violently. Its eyes were fixed on me, its mouth opened wider and wider. Seeing this, Grandma's face turned pale with fright. His mouth opened wider and wider. Seeing this, Grandma was horrified. She quickly shielded me with her own body. Then, from the old man's mouth, a large cloud of black gas spewed out, and it hit Grandma right in the face. After that black gas was expelled, the old man's corpse went still, but Grandma collapsed to the ground. As if poisoned, her entire face turned black. Watching Grandma's breathing grow weaker, I immediately shouted at the Wong family behind me, "Come out and save my grandma." But the moment I spoke, I saw two more people appear behind me. They were Hu Linger and Bai Shi, two of the 72 Pathfinder Immortals. Bai Shi reached into the void and grabbed a pill for me. I knew Bai Shi was a healing immortal, so without hesitation, I fed the pill to Grandma. Soon, she woke up. Her complexion returned to normal. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. Then, Hu Linger's voice sounded in my ear. "Little one, something seems off here. What do you mean?" This place was tampered with beforehand. In other words, you were set up this time. Hearing Hu Linger's words, my heart skipped a beat. I thought of how Wang Yukai would rather die than reveal how his father really died. So I believed Hu Linger. I came here with good intentions to help, but they were targeting us. They almost got Grandma killed. Fury surged within me. I turned to Wang Yukai and said, "I'll ask you one more time. How did your father really die? If you still won't tell the truth, we're leaving. And tonight, your father will definitely come back as a zombie. When that happens, no one in your family will survive. Then your entire family will be wiped out." Hearing this, Wang Yukai panicked completely. He never imagined things would escalate this far. He immediately begged us to save them. And this time, he confessed to everything. Only then did I realize who was behind all of this. At the same time, I wanted to skin Wang Yukai alive. Turns out, Wang Yotsai's family used to be dirt poor. Then suddenly, for a period, they became the richest family in the village. But this wasn't because Wang Yukai made it big or landed a great job. It was because he met a Taoist priest. This priest told Wang Yukai he had the power to make him rich overnight, but the price was to trade his own lifespan. Hearing the sinister priest's offer, Wang Yukai was tempted. At first, he traded 1 year of his life, and sure enough, wealth started pouring in. Buying a lottery ticket would win him the jackpot. Even their little convenience store was packed with customers. It was utterly addictive. Unfortunately, after getting money, Wang Yukai stopped doing anything. He just lazed around all day, so all the money gained from his lifespan was completely spent. In less than a year, he was back to square one, so he went back to that priest to use more lifespan to renew his capital. But after a few rounds, he realized he couldn't keep using his own life. Then, he remembered something else. The priest had mentioned that this method could also use someone else's lifespan, but that person had to be a blood relative. So he set his sights on his own son, trading 10 years of the child's life for wealth. When his wife found out, they had a huge fight. Only then did he stop. But with his son out of the picture, Wang Yukai still had a father. Wang Yukai also had a father. He thought his father was a long-lived man. He's 90 years old now, still able to run and jump, and speaks clearly. So he secretly used his dad's life force to trade. However, this method of stealing life force can be said to be exceptionally cruel. Young people, with their strong yang energy and long lifespans, don't feel it, but it's different for the elderly. They can clearly feel their organs rapidly failing and rotting. And precisely because of this, a scene of fatherly kindness and filial piety appeared in the Wang household. That is, Wang Yukai was out there feasting and drinking, while his old man was suffering in the ICU. Finally, the old man couldn't bear the pain anymore. He chose to take poison and end his life. Although Wang Yukai did an inhuman act, now that his own father was dead, he had to arrange the funeral. In the end, having no other choice, he found that Taoist priest, begging him to step in and help. But he told Wang Yukai, his father's funeral, from the wake to the burial, would take 3 days in total. He could only help for 2 days and would leave on the third. Because Wang Yotsai's father died from having his life force forcibly taken, he must be filled with resentment. This will cause the old man to form something called a grudge miasma in his chest. This grudge miasma can be said to be extremely sinister, even to the point of killing gods who stand in its way, and slaying Buddhas who block its path. As the Taoist who performed the ritual, he must lay low for a while. But before leaving, the Taoist said, there is a way to both preserve Wang Yotsai's life and let him gain immense wealth once again. Could bring him another massive windfall. That is, to find some capable spirit mediums to help, and he would tamper with the corpse. Then, when the medium intervenes, the old man's resentful energy will transfer to that medium. After that medium dies, all their remaining life force will turn into wealth and flow back to Wang Yukai. Hearing this, Wang Yotsai's greed once again overrode his reason. That's why he came to my house to find Grandma, because the most famous spirit medium around here is Grandma. That's also why I really want to skin Wang Yukai. At that moment, Hu Linger beside me seemed to guess my thoughts, so she quietly whispered a couple of things in my ear. Hearing her words, my eyes lit up. A plan came to mind, and I immediately said to Wang Yukai, it's not impossible for me to save you, but I have one condition. First, I need the address of that dark practitioner. Upon hearing this, Wang Yukai quickly gave up the dark practitioner's location. However, one thing leads to another. I didn't state the second point. Instead, I gripped a small knife and walked over to the old man's corpse. I cut the corpse's wrist with the knife, letting it get stained with corpse blood. Then, under everyone's astonished gaze, I returned to Wang Yotsai's side. Using that blood-stained knife, I made a cut on his wrist. Then I threw the knife to the ground. Seeing my actions, the others didn't understand what I was doing, but Grandma understood perfectly. She quickly called out to me, Xiao Fan, you, don't worry. Grandma, his family willingly asked for my help, and some people must be held accountable for their actions. After saying that, seeing Grandma didn't object, I walked over to the small knife on the ground. Shouted loudly, 1. Taisu spirits, clear the haze. 2. Immortals of 1,000 homes, lose your power. 3. Evil spirits face heaven's wrath. Immortals, demons, and all foulness, be purged, shatter. As soon as I finished speaking, I raised my foot and stomped hard on the blade. But with that one stomp, a bizarre scene unfolded. The blood on that knife flowed out like it was free, non-stop. At the same time, people noticed the old man in the coffin, whose eyes had been open, had closed them on their own. Seeing this, Wang Yukai finally let out a sigh of relief. He was just about to speak to me, when he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, instantly looking at me with a face full of terror. What's happening to me? Nothing much, just repaying a debt you owed. Now your fortune has been shattered by me. You'll never have a chance to turn things around in this life, and your father's spirit has been sent away for now. You can bury him, but the resentment in his heart hasn't lessened. The 7th day is the soul's return night. Your family will still face trouble. When that time comes, I'll naturally come back to handle it. Many people were asking, wasn't the corpse reanimation problem solved? Why is there still danger? Hearing this, I told everyone, the corpse reanimation is solved, but I never said I'd resolve the old man's resentment, because to untie the bell, you need the one who tied it. The old man's resentment must be repaid by Wang Yotsai's family alone. After saying this, I took my grandmother and left the place. It's not that I'm heartless, but Wang Yotsai's actions were utterly inhuman, so whether he lives or dies is up to his own fate. At that moment, the other members of the Wang family, seeing we were about to leave, prepared to rush forward to stop us. Were about to charge at us to stop us. Just then, Hulinger turned and glared back. Although these people couldn't see Hulinger, they instinctively sensed the danger of death approaching. They all stopped in their tracks, and so, Grandma and I made it home safely. However, as soon as we got home, Grandma went into the bedroom and brought out a brass gong for me. Xiao Fan, don't underestimate this thing. This is a spirit summoning gong. Keep it with you. It might come in handy. Hearing this, I quickly accepted it. After all, that evil cultivator probably won't be easy to deal with. Once everything was ready, the next night, I set out with the 2 great immortals behind me to confront that evil cultivator. Following the address Wang Yukai gave me, we soon arrived at a courtyard where the evil Taoist was hiding. But just as I reached outside the main gate, Hulinger beside me charged straight in, so I hurriedly followed. But the moment I stepped inside, I heard Hulinger shout at me, "Little disciple, wait, there's a trap formation here." Unfortunately, she was too late. I was already inside. In less than a minute, I felt my whole body go weak. Just then, a voice came from ahead. I thought it would be the legendary Granny Ear coming. Didn't expect it to be some green kid. The speaker was an old man who looked past 50. No need to guess. He was the evil cultivator. I gritted my teeth, trying my best to steady myself, and asked him, "Why did you target my grandmother?" Upon hearing my words, he immediately realized I was Granny Ear's grandson, and was instantly overjoyed. As long as I'm the one who caught you, that Urgu won't escape my grasp, because this was a trap I set on purpose. The goal is to steal your grandmother's primordial spirit. Only by constantly absorbing others' primordial spirits can I, a cultivator of the dark arts, live forever, and achieve immortality. Hulinger, standing nearby, let out a light laugh. She transformed directly into a massive red fox to duel him. When it comes to cultivators of the dark arts, no spirit medium would let them go. However, the dark cultivators seemed to have anticipated this. Just as Hulinger was about to strike him, the dark cultivator suddenly drew a dagger from his robes. He slashed it towards Hulinger. Hulinger seemed deeply wary of that dagger. A red flash, and she was back by my side. What kind of dagger is that? Haha, this dagger is called the Immortal Breaker, made specifically to deal with guardian spirits like you. Hearing the dark cultivator's words, Hulinger and Baishi decided to attack together. Yet, seeing this, the dark cultivator wasn't afraid. Instead, he laughed loudly and charged forward with his sword. At the same time, he formed a seal with one hand and began chanting an incantation. As he chanted, Hulinger and Baishi began to moan in pain. Instantly, they were at a disadvantage in the fight. Seeing this, I grew frantic. I wanted to rush up and help, but the formation left me utterly weak. Seeing the time was ripe, the dark cultivator immediately threw out a talisman, and shouted, "Activate the formation! Activate the formation!" Then, an immense pressure converged on Hulinger and Bai, pinning them in place instantly. Seeing this, my heart sank. If I couldn't figure out a way to break this, I was really done for this time. That's when I suddenly remembered the summoning gong in my hand. Figuring I'd give it a shot, I took a deep breath, slowly took out the summoning gong, and struck it hard. And with that one strike, I immediately felt a wave of relief wash over me. The pressure lessened greatly. This filled me with immense joy. So without hesitation, I struck the summoning gong in my hand. As the gong sounds continued to ring out, the power between me and the dark Taoist clashed repeatedly. At this moment, the dark Taoist couldn't help but let out a surprised ha, and sped up his incantations once more. Immediately, a powerful pressure surged towards me again, but I didn't back down either. I struck the gong frantically with all my might, and so, an invisible battle of wills began. Unfortunately, after just 5 minutes, I was coughing up blood and collapsed to the ground. There was no helping it. A magical tool like the summoning gong is impossible to control without sufficient cultivation, but thankfully, the dark Taoist across from me wasn't faring much better. I saw him, his head throbbing from the gong's vibrations, collapse to the ground. Now, without the dark Taoist's incantations and the formation's support, Hulinger and the others instantly rushed forward and defeated him. Hulinger then pinned him to the ground and turned to ask me, "Little disciple, what should we do with this guy? Little disciple, what should we do with this guy?" I glanced at the evil Taoist, thought for a moment, then had Hulinger pluck 3 hairs from the top of his head. Then I lit 3 sticks of incense and used the incense to burn those 3 hairs. Immediately after, I took those 3 incense sticks and forcefully stuck them into the ground. Perhaps it was fate, but the incense sticks only went 5 millimeters into the soil. After it was done, I turned to the evil cultivator lying on the ground and said, "He who does evil digs his own grave. You are a cultivator, but your heart is corrupt. Today, you'll receive a lesson. 5 millimeters of earth," I said, "stripping you of 10 years of cultivation. If you've got the guts, just kill me. Otherwise, I'll pay you back tenfold. Go." I shook my head. Then, taking Hulinger and Baiji with me, I turned and left, but I hadn't gone far when I coughed up another mouthful of blood. Finally, I passed out. When I woke up, 3 days had already passed. Due to the backlash from using the spirit summoning gong, I spent that time recuperating at home. Until today, the 7th day after old Master Wang's passing, Wang Yukai came to our house again. He knelt and begged once more, asking us to save his family. I didn't want to get involved, but Grandma thought of Wang Yotsai's young son. He's innocent. If we don't intervene, tonight he might. So she agreed to Wang Yotsai's request, and so it was. I had no choice but to go with Grandma to the Wang household once again.